In the last 5 years, I sold over 1 million of these pet portraits all over the world, and I started the business with less than $100. I experienced fast growth in the first year, but this wasn't some fairy tale story. I worked very hard and I learned a lot of lessons along the way about business, marketing, and collaboration. In this video, I will share my story about how I started my business, quit my full-time job to work for myself, and afforded myself a lifestyle of freedom that comes along with it. I'll also share my 5 tips that I wish I knew before I started my business to help inspire you to maybe do the same. But before we get started, if you're new here, hi, my name is Ben Taylor. I make weekly vlogs in New York City and lifestyle videos. If you're not subscribed already, now is a great time to hit that subscribe button. It helps my channel grow immensely, and I would be honored to have you part of this community. I think a good place to start with all of this is my background. I worked in 8 years in marketing. I worked for agencies, and I was basically a social media manager, maybe a social media strategist. I was building out social media calendars, managing clients' social media across Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I was building out strategy decks, but I ultimately wanted to work for myself. And after around 6 or 7 years, I quit my job and then I started to freelance full time. So I was doing the same thing, but on a freelance basis. But that wasn't really itching the scratch that I had to work for myself, because if you've ever worked in a client-focused business before, you know that working for clients is not really working for yourself. You're always at the mercy of your clients. Your clients can leave at any time. So I wanted to have a job that was my business, my entrepreneurial spirit coming to life. So one day I sat down, I opened up YouTube just like you're watching now, and I typed in how to get new social media clients, right? I wanted to grow my business. I watched a video, the video was just okay. But the next video that came up was about print on demand. If you're not familiar with print on demand is a business model that allows you to create customized products like t-shirts, backpacks, framed portraits, or framed posters, and outsource them to a vendor in the United States. There's also many all around the world. They print and they ship and they put your brand logo on it, and they do it on your behalf, but you never hold an inventory position. When I found out about this business model, I was completely obsessed. My mind was blown. I could not believe something like this was out there and I didn't know about it, and it was so easy to get started. So for months I researched. I watched other people on YouTube talk about their businesses. I listened to podcasts. I Googled. I read about print on demand. I did everything that I possibly could to learn about it while also writing down ideas. I remember I would be up at like 3 a.m. watching a YouTube video, and I would take pictures of my TV just to remember what was on the screen. I think I still have some of those photos. And it was just so that when I did start, I could go back to them, right? Like I was giving myself a crash course in this business. Problem was, I hesitated on almost every idea that I had. I had other ideas for print on demand, but I never really acted on them, and I always just waited for that perfect idea to come around. This brings me to my first tip for you, which is don't hesitate and to take action. It sounds really simple and it sounds cliche almost, but it doesn't have to be this grandiose gesture. Taking action can be as simple as, I'm gonna register a domain name for a business that I think is a good idea. You don't have to do anything with that domain name. I'm going to write down 3 different brand names and think about them for the week. I'm gonna reach out to somebody and see if they'll do a networking call with me. These baby steps help you learn faster. The longer you wait for that perfect idea, the longer it's going to take you to learn. The longer you wait to start something and maybe it fails, the longer you wait to fail. You should be grateful for your failures. Your failures will actually lead you to your success. Without your failures, you don't have success. Again, it's all really cliche, but embody it and think about it, and it will help you. The idea for Weston Willow came to me one night while I was watching TV, and I'm staring at a shelf in my old apartment, and there's the portrait that my mom drew. My mom's an artist, and she did a hand drawing of my dog, Zoe. It just kind of hit me in that moment, and I thought, could this be my idea? So I instantly got up, I ran to my laptop, and I just started researching pet portraits. I typed in pet portraits into Google, and I saw what came up. There were some other people doing pet portraits, but it was kind of like the pet portrait that your grandma would have. Nothing that was modern and aesthetic and felt like something that I would want in my own home. And I thought, if there's something that I would want, then maybe there's other people out there who also would want a portrait if only it was designed a little bit differently and it was marketed in a really modern way. So after that, the rest was sort of history. I acted very quickly from that moment. I started to make logos in Canva. I got some samples made, and I had family and friends make some ads for me. With about $100, I pressed live on Shopify to start Weston Willow and start running ads. And I'm really glad that I started, because the learning here is about that hesitation you might feel if you see that someone else is doing your idea, right? I saw that someone else was doing pet portraits, but what if I just stopped there? What if I was like, oh, someone's already doing it, I'm not gonna even take the chance to do it? You're not copying someone else for doing that. You're innovating on it, right? I saw pet portraits. I was like, I'm gonna do it better. I think I can do it better. And I think there's a space for me in the market. You don't need to come up with an original idea to be successful. In fact, in 2025, in this cluttered e-commerce landscape, it is very challenging to come up with a brand new, never been thought before idea. Chipotle did not invent the burrito. They invented a customizable, fast casual restaurant setting, and they brought it to a national scale, and it was very successful. But burritos were invented in northern Mexico. They weren't invented by Chipotle. Chipotle is very successful. Chipotle did nothing wrong. They just innovated on something that they thought they could do better. As Weston Willow started to gain success in the first year of business, I didn't realize it, but I was literally on the wildest roller coaster of my life without the seatbelt on. There's that saying, flying by the seat of your pants. I think I was doing that times 10. Every day we were growing. We were growing a little bit percent every day. Like one day it was, 3,000 in daily revenue, and the next day it was 3,200. And then I was able to scale that up, and I was able to get it to $3,400 a day. And it was that sort of incremental growth that I saw every single day that I put more investment in ads, which I was running. I was doing everything in the business. The only thing that I didn't do was the actual artwork, which I outsourced to local artists. And I am glad that I did everything. I'm glad that I answered the customer service emails in the beginning. I'm glad that I set up the portraits in Photoshop for the printer. I'm glad that I was able to see the complaints that customers had. I was glad that I was able to see the DMs on social media. That made me a better CEO for the future of the business. Now, 5 years later, I'm glad that I've done every single one of those tasks in my own business. But it was very scary to start to hire. It was very scary to relinquish the control and to train someone else to do just as good of a job that you could do. So of course, the first hires that I made were customer service and production team to help me create the print files for my vendor. But the first big hire that I made was a PR agency. And I did that even before I hired an agency to help me manage the ads on Facebook and Google. The reason why I did that is because I knew that Weston Willow was just some Instagram brand, some brand you've never seen or heard about before as you're scrolling through and you see an ad, and there is a sort of hesitation before a customer purchases. Is this a legitimate company? Are they going to deliver on time? Is the product what they say it's going to be? I knew that I had to build trust in my business to separate myself from anyone else who's going to come and copy my business, which, spoiler alert, there have been dozens and dozens of pet portrait brands who have copied exactly what I do in my business. But the reason why I have continued to remain successful, continued to remain number one when you search pet portrait into Google, we are number one. The reason why is because I invested in this brand equity and trust from a very, very early stage. All I wanted was to be in publications and articles so that we could say we were in for Refinery 29 and put the logos on our site, right? Show brand credibility. Little did I know that in the first year we were going to be on the Today Show, that we were going to be in a print magazine for Real Simple magazine, and that we would be eventually hanging on the wall of the kitchen of Martha Stewart. All of these things came because I invested in brand and equity, and that is my tip to you. This is a very critical part of your business. If you're starting something new and you're scaling, you may have that on the back burner. You may be thinking about ads and growth and revenue and profitability, all really important things. But if you lose sight of the brand and the trust and the equity, you're not going to succeed. Because if no one trusts you or no one assimilates your brand with a certain way that you want them to feel or a demographic, it's not going to work. So my recommendation is to invest in that in any way that you can and any scale that you can. If you only have $200 to invest in brand equity in the beginning, hire some influencers to talk about your brand. There's always ways to do it. As years went by, we've partnered with a lot of different brands who you might consider competitors. I know I initially did. Brands like BarkBox and Ollie Pet Food and Kong Pet Toys, a very popular dog toy brand. I partnered with all of them because I wanted to share the brand equity that they have. Those are household big names in the pet industry. Most pet owners know about those brands, but they don't know about Weston Willow. So instead of me being like, oh, we're gonna be bigger than them, or we're gonna grow faster than them, or we're gonna come out with a product that beats theirs, I said, no, I don't know if I am. And even if I am, I wanna be in the same room as them. I wanna be in the same sentence as them in an article. I want customers to know that we are just as great and good and trustworthy as those other brands. My tip here is collaboration over competition. Work with your perceived competitors to make yourself better, right? You can be stronger together as opposed to trying to do everything on your own and trying to beat everyone around you. Work with your competitors to make yourself better and to learn and grow from them and to ultimately show your customers that you are just as big of a brand, even if you're not, as those competitors. Now in our 5th year of business, we have reached success that I never would have dreamed of. We have sold over 1 million portraits. We have hundreds of team members. We're hanging on the walls of celebrities' homes. And I did it all bootstrapped, by the way. I didn't take any investment, even though it was offered to me many times, and it was very tempting at times. But I stuck to my gut and I did not take any investment. And what I've learned, again, it's gonna sound cliche, I've never stopped learning. I've never stopped pushing myself. I've never stopped questioning any aspect of my business. Is this email the right email template? Is the way that we have this worded on the website the best way to do it? Should we reorganize the way that our FAQs are on the website? Should we have a different strategy for influencers? Should we look into new products? I'm constantly thinking about what we can do differently. And I'm thinking about what our pivot is going to be. When we need to pivot, what is that pivot going to be? That same sort of hunger and fire that I had when I started my business is still around today, but it's a little bit different. It's a little more refined. It's a little more focused, but it doesn't go away. And that is my tip to you. Even when you've started something, even when you think you have found your golden ticket to freedom and quitting your full-time job, that's the opposite time to stop learning, stop consuming content about what you're doing, and stop being inspired. Go to the conference, go to the networking event, meet with someone, talk about your business, and don't stop doing it, because that is what is going to keep you sharp, and that is what is going to keep your business successful. So that's it for my story. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope it inspired you. Leave a comment if there's anything that I didn't answer or there's something else that you want to know. Thank you again for subscribing. I'll see you next week in next week's video. Bye.